All right, Kevin back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I'm here with Tyson Ray. Tyson, welcome. So awesome to have you on the show today.
Appreciate you having me, Kevin.
You bet. And so, I'm just going to, there might be people looking at this, watching, if they're listening to the podcast, they wouldn't even notice. But if they're watching on video, they might be looking at those numbers next to your name right there. I had an inkling what they were when we hopped on, and you confirmed it. So tell people what the numbers are there.
Yeah, 2395. It's my Colby. It basically means I'm a quick start and I need a lot of help in other areas. Uh,
As we all do.
as we all do. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shout
And
out to strategic coach that took us through that.
I'll tell you. So I've been in strategic coach. I was in strategic coach for 6 years, 3 of those years in Dan's group. And I'll
Sure.
tell you, Dan, man, one of the deepest thinkers I know, that guy, man. And
Yep.
just phenomenal teacher, phenomenal coach for entrepreneurs. And yeah, they use the Colby testing very heavily in strategic coach. So
Yep. Yeah, they've
okay.
nailed down relationships there too, for
That's
sure.
right. That's right. Yeah. So I'm going to start by I want to give a shout out to Brianna and the folks over at the Interview Valet platform because that's how you and I got connected. And Brianna and I, we go back, man. Well, I interviewed Tom, the founder of Interview Valet, a couple of years ago on this podcast. And through that's how I got connected with him and found out what they were doing. And ever since, Brianna on their team, she reaches out to me regularly and let me know, hey, Kev, I think so and so would be a great guest for your podcast. And it's really cool because not once has she ever steered me wrong. And so now whenever I get an email from Brianna, I never know exactly what's in it, but it's kind of like Christmas time because you just know it's
Right.
going to be good.
Right.
And so, and what a testament right there to the power of right relationships. Where you just have that trust that Brianna's got my back when it comes to sending me great guests for this show.
Yeah.
And that's powerful. So, thank you, Brianna, and anybody at Interview Valet, if you happen to be listening to this. Tyson, let's just start off. I was going to dig right in with you, and I'll start off with real simple question to start with. What do you do, and who do you serve?
Yeah, well, my core business for 27 years is being a financial advisor to your $1 million relationships and building relationships with clients that they entrust us with their life savings, and then we try and help them live the best life they can afford. But my hard wiring, and I learned this a long time ago about myself, is I'm a student teacher. I love to learn things, and then when I learn things, I try to simplify them down and then teach them to others to try and help them learn what I learned. And so the last time I was on your podcast, we had published a book called Total Relationship that we talked about. And we're back on with a new book that we published called Total Succession. And it's everything that we've learned about succession. I've gotten 2 different certifications in business exit planning or succession planning. And so we're just going to chat today about how we can help you who's listening to this think differently about what success in succession looks like for you.
Yeah. So let's dig into that because I was just telling you before we hit the record button. Who here I was just talking with a good friend of mine yesterday. Who he sold his business several years ago, and had he's set financially for life, and yet now he's just feeling like he's living a great life, but he's like, man, I just feel like this emptiness inside, and I'm just feeling like I've maybe just I don't have purpose right now and stuff. And I think that might, maybe people don't even think about secession the way that they should, but maybe they don't think about what happens once we do sell the business and somebody else takes over. And so I just want to kind of drop that with you a little bit because it's just timely.
Yeah, no, it's an important part of it. And so we talk in the book about it. We call it, it's an acronym. It's SPACE is the word. And the thought process as you're listening to this is, are you making time, space in your calendar, space in your brain to think about what your future looks like outside the business? We spend all kinds of time thinking about the business and the relationships in the business and the urgent problem you're trying to solve. But in the space framework, The S in space stands for what do you see yourself doing in the future? You know, you may die at your desk, okay, and maybe along the way, what do you need yourself doing differently in the business? But if you're not in the business anymore, what do you see yourself doing? And what your friend is processing is part of the things we try and define is you retire with all this skills and wisdom and gifts and unique abilities, as strategic coach calls them. And can we start thinking in terms before you make that transition as to what you're going to do? Because golf will get old, travel will be there, leisure is going to be there, but your purpose, like how are you making an impact like you did when you ran the successful business, is something to explore. And one of the things with I tell clients this when they retire in businesses, when they transition, none of us know, we don't know what we don't know until we know it. Yeah. And it's like a baby being born and learning how to walk. Somehow when we get into retirement or we transition and we sell that business and we go from being the CEO, the entrepreneur, the decision maker in charge, control, taking risks, to all of a sudden they freeze up. And one of the mistakes people make is they think they got to jump. They feel like in order to have an impact, they got to jump back into that type of responsibility, and they really don't. Okay. But we don't give ourselves permission like we did when we were infants to try to walk again, like get up, fall down. We don't let ourselves try things to fail. Like, hey, guess what? We're not building a resume anymore. You can go take a job or try and get on a board or do something. And if you don't like it, you can quit, because it's like we don't like that's the freedom that comes from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of the most important things to define before you get to that succession is what are we doing on the other side with you, who has these gifts and talents and purposes. And the activities will be there, the vacations will be there, the hobbies will be there, but there's a purpose. What's the challenge going to be? And can we help find out what that is, so we retire into something instead of without it, we retire into nothing. And that's what your friend is struggling with.
Yeah. Yeah. So when should an entrepreneur start thinking about succession?
Well, too many. Well, one, the longer you wait to put things in place, the less options you have, the more stress you have. I would say that the business owner that has created a business that's beyond themselves, they have a team, they have clients, they have customers and vendors that depend on them, and they have a family that there's some monetization that needs to transpire if you're not in the business. I think when you have those components, you need a succession plan. I don't care if you're 30 or 80. Mm-hmm. I've joked with people that said, you want to figure out how well your catastrophic plan is? Take the person that you love the most, or take your beneficiary, send them to a separate attorney and a separate accountant, spend 10 grand and tell them you've died, and let that person figure out what the gaps are, because that's how it's going to play out if you're not there. That's the catastrophic side of things. Obviously, if you're here and you're going through your own succession or transition or sale of your practice or business, you're there to kind of figure out your gaps as you go.
Yeah.
But the purpose of the book is to basically help explain that there is no perfect succession. There are pros and cons to all the different ways one can transition a business. And the more you can understand what the options are, and the more you can see what you want, the more you can exit on your terms and exit into something you want to exit into.
Okay. So there's not necessarily a specific time, but the more runway you give yourself, the more options you're going to have and stuff. And so,
well, and your succession plan evolves as your business evolves.
Yeah. Okay.
And are you keeping your succession plan updated with what your hopes and dreams are, based versus we do it at times, we file it away, and then something changes in the business, the leadership changes, maybe the family dynamic changes about who's going to get what, or is it going to be internal or external? Private equity is showing up and all of a sudden throwing big numbers at different people, and that can be blinding to some that didn't define on the front end. The reason we wrote the book is because in 2024, within the financial services industry, private equity has shown up, and I was just looking at my appraisal of my company and kind of going, what is it really worth? And so I said yes to a couple different private equity offers and went through the NDAs and went through the indication of interest and saw what these things were really worth. And then in the process started realizing I didn't know what I didn't know.
Mhm.
And I also realized that my plan in place wasn't the most tax efficient way of doing it, not just for me, but for the team members and the people I wanted to be a part of this.
Okay.
Um, and the journey of then redoing our legal documents and structuring holding companies and doing a bunch of different tax planning, I started realizing I'm like, no one knows this. And if you learn how to transition your business in a succession by the person across the table who's trying to buy it, you're only getting one side. You're
Mhm.
not you're being told from the buyer what you should
Yeah.
be doing, and that may
Yeah.
not be best for you.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
And
They've
so
got
that's why we
their
wrote the book.
interest, but may not have your best interest.
Correct. And in the end, this is my definition of success in succession, and it's to humble myself because it's hard to say, but I want to run into the relationships that I have with clients and with vendors and with my team 5 or 10 years after I'm transitioned, I'm done,
Mhm.
and they tell me they're in a better place than they were when I left.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the problem
Yeah.
is that we run these businesses in a way that we think it needs to be us to be able to make it better. Then how can you do a transition that you can leave everybody better off, including
Mhm.
yourself?
You bet. You bet. Wow. So, what inspires you most about the impact that you guys are making, Tyson?
It's something I did a long time ago. And like everything else, I've started talking more about the book now that the book's written, and then you realize what isn't in the book, you wish you would have put in the book. Um,
Hindsight, right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's why there's versions coming out in the future, I'm guessing. Um, what I get inspired about, and it's because it just happened, right? We're in the beginning of 2026 here, recording this. Um, I don't know where I got it from. I started doing it probably 15 years ago, maybe a little longer. Um, I wrote, I was in, I was once, I had this belief, and I recently heard from somebody else that just succinctly put it is that we need to plan backwards and execute forwards. You start with the end in mind, plan backwards, and then execute that going forwards. And you want to stretch that out and you want to give yourself some perspective. And what I've been doing for the better part of 15 plus years is every year I write my eulogy or I reread my eulogy to ask myself, is this what I want people to say about me when I'm not here?
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's like a it's like a compass. It just tells me this was my true north. And what inspires me about that is what I want my wife to say. And then am I living out and I'm behaving in such a way that she will say these words because I'm living them out for them to be true? Are my sons going to say these words because I'm living them out to be true? Are my clients going to say these words? And one of the sections in there is that I made an impact in people's lives that is continually being felt and live and they're experiencing even when I'm no longer here. And that's why I'm writing. That's why I got into writing these books for other financial advisors and for other people to read to try and live out some of this wisdom I've gained that I've learned myself that now I'm trying to teach back to other people. It's like, hey, cliff notes, like this is good stuff. Try and keep these perspectives,
Yeah.
keep those perspectives. And that eulogy also helps me then write something else, which is quite challenging, which is a great tool for relationships to try and keep making sure you're spending your time where you want to be spending it, or making sure you're paying attention to the time that's coming that you could have seen coming had you paid attention. This is really scientific. I take out a Word document, and 10 years ago, I wrote 2026, and it says right underneath the year, Tyson turns 51, Jenny turns 48, Nelson turns 22, Austin turns 20, Carson turns 18. And then I write, Christmas break, spring break, summer break, right? Oh, we're going to do the fishing trip in May. Like I started filling out where am I going to go spend time with these most important people in my life? And when I did it 10 years ago, it's like, wait a second, this one's turning 16. What are we doing for cars? Oh, wait, then this one turns 16, but this one turns 18. 18 to graduate high school. This starts college. This is where college ends. This is kind of where marriages are maybe going to happen. This is probably where babies maybe happening. And it forces me to plan ahead to see where the life events, the anniversaries, the things are. So all of a sudden I didn't wake up in 2026 and all of a sudden a month or two, it's like, hey, we're going to have our 25th anniversary. Like, are we going to do something? No, that because you saw that coming a year, like the more time you have to plan, the more options you have to do it.
Sure.
The more you can block the time, right? Um, and it all ties back to if I do these things on a consistent basis, I can make sure I get the big rocks in the glass first
Yeah.
because the world wants to fill the glass with everything else.
Yeah.
Your day wants to fill the glass with everything else. Next week is already full.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what I found as an entrepreneur, to the extent I can, the further I can look ahead and say, stake in the ground,
Yeah.
stake in the ground in my calendar, in my time, in these relationships, the more likely I will keep these relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so powerful, and of course, in strategic coach, Dan and strategic coach, they teach the entrepreneurial time system, free days, focus days, and buffer days.
Yep.
And the free days are our time off. And those are the days that you schedule first.
Right.
You'll schedule your free days out for the whole doggone year, and then you work back from that and figure out how you're going to fill in with all the other stuff. But the free days come first. That's not earned time off. We take that time off so that we can recover and rejuvenate. And when we are at work, we're at our best, and our clients get at our best, But we gotta commit to that time.
Yeah.
And good stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this to blow your mind, but it used to be Tuesdays, then it was Fridays, and probably for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, Wednesdays. I take a free day on Wednesday. And here's what happens. I come in on Monday with a million things for my team, and we digest it Monday, Tuesday. And then I get to leave on Wednesday. And my COO told the team, we want him gone on Wednesday so we can catch up on what he gave us on Monday and Tuesday. Then I come back on Thursday and Friday and hit him again. Like, here we go. Because I had a whole day off to clear my head, to prioritize, to get energy back, perspective. And away we go. And as you know, as a business owner, then you may or may not take a day or two off on Saturday or Sunday. And what I found is that that taking that hump day off has done so much to allow me to delegate and force other people to take things on, force myself to let things go.
Mm-hmm.
And part of doing succession is realizing when you start wearing too many hats, the more hats you wear, the more the business is dependent upon you, the less you're going to have from evaluation, the more stress you're going to have in that succession event, the more negatively the clients and the team can be affected in your absence. That the ability to get away, clear my head, and I believe I believe we have things in life. It's like the Energizer Bunny. It's like a battery, right? Positive, negative. There are things you're doing that you're listening to this. There are things you do every day throughout the week that suck the life out of you.
Yeah.
And most of the time, it's stuff you used to enjoy, but it's not challenging anymore, or it's routine, or it's like it's not fun. It got more complicated. Success brought complexity. Separately, there are things you can do. Like I've caught myself at the office till 1 o'clock in the morning. And if it's something that's sucking the life out of me, you're falling asleep, you're just mad, you're just, ugh. And I've had something different that gave me energy. Like I was excited about it. Like you don't eat, you forget to drink water. Like you can go and go and go because it's giving you energy. And part of succession is realizing what are the things that you give you energy, and asking those around you, what are the negative things or what are the things that should be taken away from you, but you don't realize you're still clinging to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the more you can delegate those things away, the more you actually may not need to transition your business, because if it's giving you energy and you're enjoying it, that's most businesses I feel are selling because they reach a point of complexity and it's just robbing the life out of them, that they just got to step away. And like your friend, if you do that and didn't take the time to delegate those things away, you might be left with, wait a second, I still had some gas in the tank. Once you came out the other side, you got your energy back and you realize, wait, I could have done more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the truth is, you make those decisions. You can do that now.
Yeah.
And
Totally. Yeah. So what is a reason? And we don't have name names here or anything, but what is a result that you have helped a client get that you're just incredibly proud of, Tyson?
Wow. On the succession side of things, I have a family that built an amazing business over the last several years. Six kids. One kid is substantial in the business.
Okay.
But the parents decided that, they're doing their succession plan, and the parents decided they wanted to treat all the kids equally. And it's causing a rift within the family. And mom and dad weren't on the same page, and it was months in the making of working through what are it's not what your goals are that when you start talking about these types of decisions with your business and family, it's what are your fears?
Okay.
What are you afraid of? And listing those out and kind of prioritizing and seeing where there's harmony and seeing where there's not. But we got mom and dad aligned that nope, it's going to be fair. They want the fair and equal plan. And worked with the attorneys, drafted the documents, and then had the opportunity without the parents to sit down the six kids and got them all to go around. What are they afraid of? What are their questions about how this is going to happen? And I knew the issue with one of the sons. And so I'm a big fan of put the elephant in the room, right? Shoot the elephant. So I brought it up and I said, son, speak your piece about this and how you feel. And he did. And then the kids kind of went around. I could sense a little bit of rift. And I said, you know what? I asked the son, said, do me a favor. I understand what you said. Everybody heard what you said. I want you to step out of the room for a second.
Okay.
And I said to the other five, this is your opportunity to speak truth, because if we don't resolve and don't have your voices heard, this is what's going to disrupt the family on the other side of your parents passing.
Mm-hmm.
This is your opportunity to basically say what you think. And you got to do it. Everybody agree to do it? Yep. They all got back in. They basically handed their brother his ass. Like, no, this was dad's business. This is what mom and dad wanted to do. You've been compensated. The compensation has been phenomenal, but you feel like you own a bigger piece. And really the struggle is the apple didn't fall far from the tree, and the son's kind of got to decide, does he want to go off and do his own thing? And we talked about how that could work.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're staying in the business, you're staying in the business because he feels like he's growing the business for the other five, not, that should be his. And it's just like, that's not the game plan.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to help the parents finalize the plan that they need to finalize because they have no plan. Okay. And the probate process is amazing at letting families rip themselves apart. Everybody lawyers up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I love helping people solve their problems because I learned a long time ago, the right advisor doesn't know the answers. They know the questions. The clients have the answers. The answers are inside of them. We just got to flush them out. And then we got to help tune out the noise and find where the harmony is to then what are we agreeing on to then take steps. And after we take those steps, you'll learn new things. And now what do we need to adjust? How do we need to do some things differently? It's all, and it's caring enough to have the relationships with the parents, having the relationships with the kids to basically help them walk through some of these hard decisions.
Yeah. I mean, and just how you explained that, Tyson, was really, just not only was it brilliant, but it's just like it just really empathetic towards the family, the whole family, the parents and the kids, and just the way that you navigated that and the way you facilitated that whole conversation so that everybody's voice was heard and stuff. And and you're right, man. Leaving that to later to just probate to deal with it. Oh my goodness. I mean, that's what just tears families apart, and so much better if we can maintain that family unit through all of this, And so
and a good succession plan, especially with the estate plan that goes into it. It doesn't need to improve the relationships, but it does need to prevent them from getting worse.
Yeah. Well, this has been really incredible. So now that we've got some context set here, I want to switch gears just a little bit, and I want to start talking about the relationship side of this and what the work that you do. So have you ever been introduced to a person or persons who completely changed the course of your life or your business, Tyson? So much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons. And I'm just really excited to hear your story and your experience around this topic of relationships.
Yeah, the my business is called Forum Wealth Advisors. The Forum stands for understanding in relationship, and individuals, family, parents, kids, loved ones, their occupation. What do they do for work? Where are they pouring in their purpose?
Okay.
The recreations in life is the R, and then in the mission is the giving while you're living, what the impact in the world wants to be, what your legacy is going to be. And it's understanding the form your life is taking. And then we manage the wealth around that.
Okay.
I got that out of a book from a gentleman named Duncan McPherson, who later on I happened to meet at a conference and we became very good friends. And we joke, um, he has a piece of art in his office and it's an hourglass, but someone's pouring sand in the hourglass.
Okay.
Someone's, in other words, giving you abundance and giving you more, or removing the limits of time, or the limits that an hourglass has to it.
Mhm.
And every time I talk to him, and it's mutual. That's the interesting thing about the relationship is I feel he fills me up. I fill him up. It's kind of like you gotta we both charge each other's batteries,
Yeah. Yeah.
and refining and simplifying down or thinking about things differently. Um, I've sought out, and partially it's the student teacher in me, um, just different mentors, just different people that, man, you're crushing it and I'm not yet, or you're there. I've always had a couple people that are tranches ahead of me, if you will, from a
Mhm.
professional standpoint. Um, to what's amazing when you can go to somebody and be like, hey, can you help me think about this differently for a second? Just can you help me? Like, people just stop what they're doing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and whether that's also for, I had an absent dad, so I like this whole father thing. It's just having other father figures ahead of me that can either speak into me to try and be the man I'm supposed to be, or help me when I was a kid. Um, we um, don't realize the significance of just even one interaction with one comment that makes you think a little differently, that
Yeah.
can change one decision that takes you on a completely different path.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, you mentioned about your dad and I grew up, well, my dad passed away when I was 16. So for most of my life, my father hasn't been there, but my dad's brother kind of became that father figure for me and he just passed away last year. And
Mm.
so it's like, but I'll tell you, I am incredibly grateful to my uncle because man, he had such a profound impact on my life, and so did my dad, but it's, I mean, just man, just you mentioning that, I find how fast I just like right went there myself because I could relate to, not having a father for a lot of my life, maybe different situations, but still, not having that father there and stuff. And I'm really grateful for the people and the mentors that I have had in my life. And so, what's an example of a situation where you personally, Tyson, got to make this really substantial kind of an impact? And maybe even the moment, maybe it might have surprised you a little bit. And yet you also know that would have never been possible if not for the relationship that you've had in your life with somebody else that kind of just empowered that in you. What's an example of something like that?
Uh, well, what came to mind is my back when I was first learning, I had a coach, and he explained to me, this is in the middle 2000s, maybe. He explained to me what a URL was. I didn't have any idea,
I
I just knew to
remember
type
those
thing,
days when I
right?
didn't know
It's
what a
like
URL
URL,
was.
right? Yeah, it's like, and he asked, "Do you own your name as a URL?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, Do you own TysonRay.com?" I'm like, "You can own that?" I'm like, okay. And so we made an account at GoDaddy and went and pulled down my name, my kid's name, and then he started just asking me questions. We own the URL for the business, and do you own your URL for this, and do you that? And he asked me, "Will you ever own a foundation?" because we were I believe in tithing and giving back. And I said, sure. And so we happened to pull down, it was at the time, the Ray Foundation.
Okay.
Didn't think anything of it. But sure enough, it's like everything else. It was the fingerprints of that then led to 2 years later, we formalized the Ray Foundation. We threw some money in it, having no idea what we were going to do. And then my wife's sister, her husband had cystic fibrosis. They couldn't have kids. They were wanting to adopt. And all of a sudden, we get this phone call that this baby girl's been born. It was the fifth father of the mother. She was putting it up for adoption in a different state. And my brother-in-law at the time was a youth pastor. And apparently within that family, there was a pastoral figure that basically they said they wanted to put this child in a family that it was a pastor.
Okay.
So they called out of the blue and they need 25 grand. Like in 24 hours, like this stuff, like the adoption, and that was 18 years ago. It's ridiculous how expensive it was. That being said, adoptions go through, and probably about 6 months later, this little baby girl, Kylie's bouncing on my lap, this little African-American girl. And I just start sobbing because one of the father figures I had growing up, love him, great guy in my life, but he had a lot of racial issues, underpinnings. Yeah. And like realizing the trajectory, it redefined success for me. It's like, we just changed this child's trajectory forever. Yeah. And between that and realizing connecting with this, she was a beautiful girl. She wasn't, and what's crazy about the upbringing of that is it was probably 7 years later, one of my sons is in the back of the car, and he's now recognizing that he's like, Kylie's brown. And we're like, yeah. And he's like, and we're not brown. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, are there purple people?
That's awesome.
that didn't get passed down. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so, yeah, it's, you just don't know when you have relationships with people, what little things can do that lead to other things. Yeah. The Ray Foundation became, when the earthquake happened in Haiti a decade ago, a little more than that. We went to go do some work down there, and we connected with an orphanage down there. And we're doing some work, and my wife came back from being down there and said, we need to bring awareness to this, but people don't want to give to the foundation because our name's on it. And so we changed the name. Another friend came and said, hey, I found this URL, Children's World Impact, which then we later named, or the acronym of that is CWI.
Okay. And
so CWI.org has taken off. That foundation has packaged 2.5 million meals for people. We've built schools, we've built orphanages. There's been funds raised. The purpose behind the organization is any money given goes. Like, there's no overhead, there's no building, there's no salaries in the States. Like, we just connect with relationships with people on the ground in Haiti, in countries in Africa. We've done some work in Ecuador, building homes for people, just all kinds of crazy stuff. But it's all relationship that we connect with a person on the ground. We send the money directly to that person. We go and inspect the work. And it all goes back to just, hey, do you own this URL? And the question, do you ever think you'll have a foundation? Mm-hmm. Crazy.
Wow. I'm just making a couple notes here because stuff you're sharing is making me think of stuff. Wow. How awesome is that? And I can only imagine the impact that you guys have made in the lives that you have touched through these foundations and stuff. I mean, just really, really powerful. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, for anyone who might be listening to this, Tyson, and thinking to themselves, man, Kev, I really like Tyson. I love who he is. I love how he shows up. And man, even some of the stuff that he shares today has really got me thinking. And maybe they're thinking that, man, maybe I should reach out and talk with Tyson or somebody on his team, or maybe I know somebody else that I might want to connect them with. Any websites, any resources we can share with folks?
Yeah, if you're thinking about succession, the website is totalsuccession.com.
Okay.
There's podcasts on there, the books on there. There's some newsletters you can sign up for. The books on Amazon. And on the hey, you want to talk about your own succession? You want coaching on that, or you want to get a second opinion on your own financial makeup? And can you are you do do you have enough? Can you start winding down the business? Can you start going and living this life that you've been thinking of for all these years? Um, and you want some help with the financial side of things, that's formwealth.com,
Okay.
Form wealth.com. Um, and there's ways to connect there. Otherwise, good old LinkedIn, right? That's also how you'll get the updates and the feeds of the things that we put out in that regard.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. I will make sure that we include those resources with the show notes and stuff. Any last thing that you feel led to share, Tyson, before we call it a wrap?
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you're hitting that level of complexity, um, and and I want you to think differently for a second about your own financial situation because um, more stuff doesn't give you more energy. The second or third home, the next car, the airplane, whatever the stuff is, it just becomes stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to make your life better, start thinking about capping your lifestyle. Stop reinvesting or pulling everything out of the business and then spending it, and cap your income and let the profits be able to allow you to hire other people to take over some of the things that you don't like to do anymore.
Yeah.
And realize in doing so, you actually may be able to create more growth in your company. More growth in your company increases the valuation of the company.
Yeah.
And the best succession for people, the best place you can put yourself in for the future of your succession is to not reinvest everything in your business and to save some wealth outside of your business that makes the sale of your business optional.
Okay.
The businesses that reinvest everything in their business, and so all of their wealth is tied into this one thing.
Mhm.
When you go to sell that one thing, depending on the economic cycle, depending on big clients, not big clients, concentrations, all these other risks, you're taking a risk and you're making a transition very stressful.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
there's just different ways to think differently that I think a lot of people miss when you can ask yourself, hey, do you have enough? Like, what does enough mean? And when we try and get everybody to think, what is funded contentment? That's what I call it.
Okay.
That you have resources to create contentment in your life.
Mhm.
And what is that level? Because we all know people that have a ton of stuff, they aren't very content. And I can go to the third world and I can run into people that they're not even going to eat. They don't know if they're going to eat dinner tonight, or they may not even be able to eat dinner tonight. And they have more contentment than any of us.
Yeah. 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 It's not the stuff. It's not the stuff that's going to make us happy. It's so yeah.
It's the
Wow.
relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Tyson, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today and just share your wisdom and share your expertise. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you. And I'm excited to get this out there and share it with folks. So thank you so much, Tyson.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
You bet.